Hello and welcome to this very special interview. Joining us today is one of the world's biggest steel companies, Managing Director H.M. Nerurkar. And sir, first of all, up front, on behalf of all our viewers, congratulations. You've just been voted the most admired company in the world. And I can't but help ask you this, that in a year which has been so challenging, otherwise, for us and for corporate India, to have got this honor perhaps is a little more, what should I say, pleasant for you?
I mean, we are extremely happy to receive this honor. The reason is, first of all, this is the second consecutive year when Hayes and Fortune have conferred this award on us. At the same time, it also tells you what are the other gaps in your performance, because this is not done by the consultants or by ourselves. It is done by the industry peers. So to that extent, this is a far more fair way of rating a company than India.
So what were those 2 or 3 big gaps that got pointed out?
No, I think what we need to improve a lot is more on the innovation and technology. And I think what is going to happen now is how do we manage our growth. I think these are the 2 areas where we need to work much more harder than what we have been doing.
So let me first start, sir, with a more macro, non-Tata Steel question, considering that you're one of the biggest corporates in India. We're going through a phase where this mood in corporate India seems to be, the shoulders seem to be sagging now. You've been grappling inflation, you've been grappling high interest rates, and they don't seem to abate as of now. Yeah. At the same time, there are global concerns. So overall, the mood seems to be across various sectors of the fact that growth may not, or those lovely numbers that we were so used to, we may not achieve. How would you rate the current environment? Challenging, very challenging, or something even worse? What would that one word be if you were to use that across corporate India? And I'm not talking Tata Steel right now, I'll come to that.
It's challenging in the sense that you see some issues in Europe, especially the Greece. You see the inflation, you see the oil prices. And yes, you are right when you say that things which were going absolutely smoothly, everything was right, there seems to be some sort of a challenge in maintaining that. And when you see someone like Suzuki saying that we have cut down our projections, which means if our customers are going to cut down their projections, we get certainly concerned. So these are the concerns we have. On the other hand, if we have reasonably good monsoons, if we have faith in the government policies and if they are consistent, I think there is a hope that like last crisis, this country is capable of tiding over that crisis.
You opted for the word challenging and not very challenging. So are you saying therefore that while things are maybe not looking that good, we are not yet in a stage where growth has halted? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I mean. That I don't see a signs where you got to worry the way we worried in one quarter during 2008. That sort of a crisis doesn't.
You haven't yet reached that.
We don't see that.
But do you fear that if the reasons which you mentioned, monsoon being one of them, but if the current condition continues like this, we could get there? Is that a sense you're getting from people who you serve? You're core. I mean, yes, the product you make is core to practically every sector.
I already see some slowdown in some sectors. So unless the direction changes, the challenging can become even worse. But right now, I don't see those conditions prevailing in our country.
I know that in the mind of most of our viewers, Tata Steel is perceived to be an Indian giant, but few know that now you are a global giant in that sense, and a large part of your business is in fact coming from countries like Europe, the point that you made, and that's not going through a good time at all. How serious is the issue there, sir? What's the thought there that's going on, and how are you getting impacted there?
No, Europe, the problem is more in Greece and in, let's say, Spain.
Right.
But our main markets are UK and mainland Europe. So we are not really greatly affected in terms of market. And our European colleagues are doing lots of improvement efforts, especially in the area of cost, in the area of customer service, and in the area of product development. I think once we are successful in these 3, and I can see the signs of success, I think we should be able to tide over any situation that we see in Europe. Yes, the markets are challenging and markets are not going the way they are going, let's say, in India. The growth is definitely lower. But it's not that UK and mainland Europe are not in a crisis.
As a steel producer, what is the environment right now, as far as India is concerned? Are you facing a challenge? Of course, you said that people who are buying from you, some sectors are seeing a bit of a growth issue, but basically on the raw material side, on the whole commodity cycle, where do you see that going from here? And has it got a little more strained, say in the last quarter or 2 quarters, with the impending fall in growth?
In raw materials, in the area of coal, there has certainly been an issue because of the floods in Australia in, let's say, October, November.
Right.
The prices of the coal have shot up. And the challenge to the steel industry today is how do you match the cycle of the raw material with the pricing that you do to the customers. And I think that's the act we need to, as an industry, we need to get, and that's a big challenge because when the prices go up, previously the prices will change so much. Today the volatility is such that the product price might change by almost $100 this way or that way. And if that happens, how do you price your product to the customer and how does he price his product to his end consumer? So these are becoming, this volatility is becoming an issue whenever there is a crisis.
So you talked at the beginning of the interview on one of the gaps or concerns being how will you manage the growth that you've outlined. You've outlined very clearly a 6-year growth vision, which talks of 50,000 crores worth of investment, both brownfield and greenfield. Has that got a bit affected due to the sudden spike in interest rates? Because a lot of your borrowing, I would imagine, would come partly debt, partly equity. Have you got a little bit taken back, considering that we've not yet even reached the peak and that there may still be some more? Has that got hit in any way? Have you had to like step back and say, how am I going to do it?
No. When I meant challenging the growth, it's nothing to do with the interest rates or the money which we are going to spend. But of course we have to manage and we have to perform better by managing our cash flows. I don't think that's the issue I was mentioning. When I said it was challenging, it means that in a country, how do you have resources for the growth? You require the partners who do your civil work, who do your structural work, who do your mechanical work, those who supply the infrastructure for matching.
So that's a very important point that you're making, because that seems to be like the biggest bottleneck today.
Correct.
There is no talent today, isn't it?
There is a shortage of talent. People, the kind of people whom we want are in shortage. The other type may be more. So you have unemployment on one hand, you have shortage of talent on the other. So these are the challenges going forward, because we need a growth at a rate which is much higher than what we are used to. And the whole, everyone in the game needs to get his acts together.
So how are you managing that? That's a problem which everybody is facing. All big companies are also facing, small companies are facing. Have you got a plan in place that how you're going to overcome that?
Yes. First and foremost, we have an excellent training and development center, so that the people whom we have with skills, we impact them much faster than what many of our people can do. Secondly, our relationship with our suppliers are of a very long-term in nature. So we have worked with them, we have told them what are our plans, and they are gearing up accordingly. So most of our suppliers will have to match what we want, and they are ready with that. We see their plans and we are quite comfortable with that. Our own talent development plan, we have accelerated. We have invested a lot in increasing our talent pool, increasing their training, so that we have people ready to take on the responsibilities which will come in the times to come.